edits.
No. I don't wild out, though. I don't go crazy.
I mean, sometimes you should.
Speaking of wilding out, just while we're kind of getting finished up here, there's been a bunch of rap reactor beef.
Oh, yeah.
Nick got himself pulled into it.
Yeah, you were telling me.
Yeah. And all I can say, I'm not a rapper. I'm not going to jump on a track and start dissing somebody. But multi-band compressors are a thing, y'all. That's all.
Okay.
That's all. Listen to one man. This beat was knocking. It was so good. And then the vocal comes in and the whole beat just... I was just like, no. Like, that ruined the whole thing for me.
See, that's the... well, I mean, I don't mean to take a hot take on this, but the fact that dudes can buy beats and then throw their vocal on top of it is lame.
But there is a way to mix a left and right to a vocal.
100%.
We've done it with this.
It's just the thing is like they've made the beat sounds awesome, and then you're giving it to someone that has no idea what to do with it.
Oh, yeah, I get
That's the thing that I dislike about it, because like it's not like they then have to get it mixed by the person who did the beat or whatever.
Yeah.
Right? So they're just slamming their vocal on top of it. They have no idea what they're doing. But since the beat sounds dope, they're like, yeah, I'm awesome.
Yeah.
And it's like, I get it. Being able to do the stuff yourself is nice, but like learn the rest of it too.
Yeah.
Don't just, if you want to be that guy and do all the stuff yourself, okay, but like figure out how to place your vocal.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. And it doesn't
Maybe I'm being too harsh.
It doesn't
but,
even
like,
have to be that crazy though. Like all I'm saying is like there's other ways to do it that aren't a multi-band compressor. And I would probably even argue that if you're using a multi-band compressor, you're doing something wrong. But
yeah.
in a lot of these cases, man, that would clean up a lot of y'all's mixes and the point would probably get across a lot better. That's my little bit.
And most
Shout out to the
multi-band compressors, most multi-band compressors actually have decent preset set on them.
Yeah.
If you have no idea what you're doing, but you want to make it a little bit cleaner, you could probably, you know, might work.
Yeah.
Might not.
Rad for them, man. They're called the Avengers. It's a reaction group.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like they take a lot of heat on behalf of a lot of us. And but you know when they put out tracks and when they diss people, they sound good. And then you hear all these people trying to like use their name for clout and stuff, and it's just like multi-band compressors, y'all. I'm telling you. Okay, here we go. We're gonna start the show. Ready?
Mm-hmm. Process was initially designed
The recording
to capture
process.
the performance of a piece of music. So people performed, they reacted when they played emotionally to each other and therefore affected the feel of the piece of music they were playing. Now the recording process has completely reversed the whole thing. The method of recording affects the way the song's written in the first place in many cases, and it certainly affects the way it's played. If you record, let's say you record a bass drums and a rhythm guitar as a basic track. The three guys that put the basic track down will obviously instinctively react to each other, and that's cool. The guy that's going to do the overdub is being influenced by what they play and will react to it. However, they're not going to react at all to what he's done. And the same with the next, and the same with the next. There's a subconscious thing that happens when you play live. You don't think about it, you're not even necessarily aware of it. But when a piece of music is performed, there's a particularly wonderful performance of it, it is as a result of that combination of people playing a piece of music and reacting off each other emotionally. Right. Music is about emotions, playing it and listening to it, if you think about it. And the reason why everything is so clinical now, in my view, not just the digital awfulness, but the fact that the emotion is being taken out of music in the way I've just described.
Wow.
What do you think of that?
I think younger me would have disagreed, but me now?
Today now, like me now, goes, oh shit. Like, but it's true, right? Because we started talking about this when we were doing a live stream, we were talking about overproducing, and mine and Kevin's definition is a little bit different. But Kevin's definition was you have too many cooks in the kitchen. Thank you. And every time you do that, you're removing the influence that heartbeat has on the track. You know what I mean? Like you're insulating against the original heartbeat almost.
So I think like maybe what I was trying to refer to is like say you've got lots of ingredients and one chef is in charge of overseeing the ingredients come together to make the dish. I think the definition of that is like, okay, you've got the same ingredients, but now we've got 8 or 9 chefs. Mm-hmm. And they're all going to go blah, 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 blah. And they're all going to try and make it so that they feel like they've done something. And the original dish cannot come out the same way. Mm-hmm. It's going to be overdone or overthought or over influenced.
Salted or anything.
Yeah, it's just too many new influences of something that isn't a new ingredient.
Yeah.
It's a new curator of ingredients, but it's not necessarily a new ingredient.
So how do you get, like, if you have all 8 chefs, you have to get all 8 chefs in the kitchen at the same time to make one dish.
Yeah, don't do that.
It's probably not going to work out, right? Like,
well,
I mean, it's not going to work out that way for this metaphor, right? Like, it's going to be one guy shows up at 6 a.m., one guy shows up at noon the next day.
Well,
like,
at the same time, like, what they're using to classify as a producer may be pretty loose too, right?
Well, to what we just listened to on Instagram here, you know, I might have made the beat that I was just trash talking, and I might have made it sound as crazy as I could, and I put my heart and soul into it, and then I handed up the chain or whatever. That person puts whatever their sauce into it, and then they hand it off, and then they hand it off, and then they hand it off, and it's like you've lost that response of music. You've got reactive music, not responsive music. And
well,
I think,
and could you argue it's just more intellectual? Because like
it depends
what he's
on,
talking about is this emotionality, this in being in a room and, you know, allowing the emotion from others, expressions of their emotions to influence your own, which like completely, because it's all in the moment, it's all ticking away, and it has to be quicker than logic, right? Like
it's a feel thing. It's like an anticipation thing.
yeah, I used to call it like I think it's kind of like flow state, but like the best performances I can remember are the ones where I'm playing ahead of what my brain can produce. So like I'm kind of watching what I'm doing. I'm not really thinking about what I'm doing. I'm emotively creating. And those are my favorite performances because I'm not really doing anything. I'm letting it happen. And I think like if I were to like I can do that in a room with people, but like how much if you take away the human and the time constraint and the like we're doing it here and now, how much does it change from emotional expression to intellectual expression?
Well, that's what I think happens, right? Because you can describe to me what feeling you're trying to drive in your recording, but if I'm not there to witness it, then again, I'm just basing it on, I guess, facts, which now makes it an intellectual thing, right?
Yeah.
I'm trying to smart my way into blending in with this thing. Because like the other argument could be made where it's like, if I have a project that I think is really good, I want as many good hands in it as I can.
Sure.
But I do see like the teeter-totter of that, right?
Well, I think I'd want as many good ingredients as I could have.
Well, but the thing is though, is sometimes the good ingredients is just one solid steak.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like sometimes it's just, you got the thing.
Yeah, I think of like
Uncle Pendeth.
Yeah. No, I was honestly going to grab a song that you might be surprised that I'm going to grab, but that one Bieber tune where it's just him and an electric guitar, and then a trumpet at the end.
Yeah,
like the dulled down, pared down, like nothingness of whatever that tune was. It's like here, this is it.
Yeah. Oh wait, is that and my mama don't like you?
Yeah,
and
that
she
one.
likes everyone. However
Something
that
like
goes.
that.
Yeah, and it's just the guitar. Yeah, I know exactly what
it's
you're
just
talking about.
a stripped down electric guitar that doesn't sound particularly good.
No.
His vocal, and then eventually a trumpet.
I will admit that I actually do dig that song.
It's a fantastic song.
Yeah.
It's a fantastic approach to a song.
Yeah.
But like that's what you're saying. It's like here's the steak.
Yeah. It's just
we added
it's
salt.
The thing. Yeah. And I'm not saying that can't be accomplished with 12 musicians all at once.
Sure.
I'm just saying like the dream of it, the energy of it has to happen. Like our friends with Freeze the Fall, like the drummer did all his takes in the first 2 days, but he stayed in the studio and he was with the band for all the rest of it because his energy, his heartbeat was important for that. Right? They didn't want to make decisions with or over the phone or whatever. They wanted to be that in the moment response. Like we're not thinking, like you said, like we're creating.
So I think then there's the other side of it too. Like, okay, so say you write a song, right? When you write the song, you have the inspiration. Maybe it's pure emotion at that point, right? Everybody in a room together.
Like you have like a concept, but it's just feel at that point. Yeah.
And then like the replication and the studio side of things, well, all the emotion is there. Now we're trying to get the most accurate portrayal of that emotion as we can. And it might take us 100 takes. Who cares? You know what I mean? In which case, then like, did the heart really lose it? You know what I mean?
I guess like if you're trying to satisfy your heart with like the take, you're trying to get like the solid one, then it's like, there it is.
It's like, the emotion that needs to come across in this section.
Because that's kind of like the Steely Dan conversation we were having, where they had the lead guitar 10 times over, and then it's like all of a sudden it was right.
Yeah.
They got the right one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And that's probably down to having a talented producer that knows exactly what the picture's supposed to look like, or the dish is supposed to taste like, or whatever the hell analogy you want to put on it. But like, I understand what he's saying, and I don't disagree. I think it has to create. I think one of the things that you have to have if you have that type of capture is that everybody has to be pretty high caliber. Because
Because if you're subbing off for like this guy's doing the drums, this guy's doing the keys, this guy's doing the vocals, it's like now you're getting to that point where it's like it's over created, right?
Well, it's just degrees of separation.
Yeah.
Whereas, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess there's a reason that like Nashville acts still do it live off the floor.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's fair.
Like, that was one of the things that I thought was crazy when I was down there is like the amount of, like, yeah, like, oh, okay, we got all these dudes in a room. We're going to set up. We're going to do 9 songs today. And that's all we're going to do.
Yeah.
We're going to do 9 songs. We're going to bang them out. And then once they're right, they're right. And sometimes the vocalist is going to be there. Sometimes the vocalist is not. But we got all the humans. And yeah, maybe they're just onto something with that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, oh, yeah, we just keep all the humans around and then...
But like if you think about... Like, let's steer out of like the real heavy emotion stuff. Like, let's go to Paramore. We've been talking about Paramore. They're from Nashville, right? They had like a feel. It was a feeling. And I don't think they recorded off the floor, but that was still like the pursuit. They wanted you to feel that like that riot energy, right?
Well, and that's, one would argue that's Bendith's talent and...
It's the one stake, right?
Production knowledge to get the right emotion out of the individual, like assemble the piece out of the individual.
Yeah.
Like he has the awareness of the intention to understand what it looks like, finished or unfinished. And with the way that technology works or whatever, you know, it just in terms of being able to apply the most care and attention to each individual piece of the pie, okay, maybe we do them all separate. And that's completely fine. You know what I mean? Then it's like, okay, well, I still understand the emotional intention for the completed product, and we will do the necessary steps to get to that point. Might not necessarily be everybody live in a room, one take, and see you later. That's where I think, like, I can understand that it creates challenges to get there. But and then I think there's going to be people that are going to be successful at doing that, and then there's going to be not.
I got you.
Because it's like, you can either overcome those hurdles and still land the target, or you won't, and it'll get lost. But I think that's where the being a good producer would allow you to have that vision and to be able to capture that no matter what the obstacle, right? And I think...
Well, that's getting back to that conversation of like, if you have to high pass filter the mic, get a different mic. You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of like, it's... And to be fair, there is a little bit of truth in what he said, like where the production almost comes first before the art, I guess.
Sure.
Like I write, or like when I'm playing with things, I will write or practice because I know what it would sound like once we track it out. And with that in mind, that creates a different energy than if we're just creating raw and there's a bunch of us off the floor, right? But that kind of serves to my purpose for my YouTube channel, where I want to like blend, I want to break this bridge between artist and technician, because I think that there's a lot of artistry in technicians. I think there's a lot of being a technician and being an artist, you know what I mean? And I kind of want to like smooth that over. And I think that was a really like affirming and defining way of kind of launching that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, it's hard too, because it's like, I know there's so many different ways of doing things, and it's like, you know, that guy making that statement is like, okay, fair. I can get it if that's the world that you lived in. But I think the intention or the groundwork that's laid by that type of interpretation, I don't think that's incorrect. But I do think that things have kind of changed, like that we have this capacity to do things in a way that we weren't able to do previously, right? It's not just you put a microphone on a table and go. It's not just you have 4 channels. It's not just you have 6 channels. It's not just you have 24. Like, okay, all of a sudden you have this. You have more colors. You have more flavors. You have more X, Y, Z. And I think that can be good or it could be bad.
But you know what's interesting to that though is like what used to be the standard for a good studio. It was like you had a good vocal room, a good drum room or drum sounds. And now it's like we don't need any of that real expensive niche stuff that made the studio cool. But because like, you know, like we said, we have digital consoles that have infinite channels and all this stuff. I'm sure there's limits, but you know what I mean? But nobody has rooms anymore. But then it's like the argument is, well, you don't need them. Well, that's where this comes back in. It's like, are you losing the artistry? Is that part of the artistry?
I would argue absolutely.
Because I think there's a freedom to express. I don't need the giant room to have a big sounding drum kit.
So,
See what I'm saying though?
Oh, completely. And again, if I was thinking older me or younger me, I wouldn't agree. I'd just be like, no, we don't need. But like, I used to think that by something sounding of a certain quality, that was the benchmark. You know what I mean? Because that's what I fixated on. I fixated on the idea of something sounding a certain way, rather than the emotionality and the translation,
making the best of the thing,
and all those other types of things that, in my head, I just went fairly logical with it and not very emotional. And now I kind of look at it and I go like, okay, well, I can see why a lot of people that have pristine sounding stuff don't get successful. Like, and I've got a number of them on my phone where it's like, this sounds lovely or clean or whatever you want to call it or good. But the ability for it to evoke an emotion, to make it significant in someone's life, may not be there just because it sounds nice. You know what I mean? It might not be a good movie just because the CGI is really good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
sometimes it's that raw emotion that is just the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or there's just more things to be concerned about.
Yeah.
Like not to bash it, but like I watched that Rebel Moon, the Zack Snyder Rebel Moon thing.
I don't know what that
Zack
is.
Snyder? I don't know. It's on Netflix. It's a new movie that he put out. It's basically Star Wars. It's like a Star Wars ripoff.
Okay.
And the movie looks cool. Everything about it looks cool, but like the script is awful. And I was sitting there going like, if I was just looking at this, I'd go, man, this is really cool. And when I saw the trailer, I was like, holy cow. But the words that the people were speaking, I was like, this is so dumb. Like I can't get into this at all because the language is just so bad. And I'm guessing it's kind of that thing where it's just like, okay, I used to think, okay, audio needed to be this pristine sound, and then that means success.
Yeah.
It's like, well, no, that's not that's actually way secondary.
Yeah.
Like, make the audio as good as you can, sure, but like make the thing good.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, like, you know, there is a barrier to entry that says that audio needs to be important, but if the content isn't valuable, whatever that content is, then the audio could be as good as you want. It doesn't matter. You know what I mean?
I my younger mind didn't understand that.
I got you. But, you know, like, look at a lot of these, like, pop songs that are the biggest songs in the world. Like, I don't know. I don't want to say go to Spotify and look at what's the most streamed because it probably won't be a good example, but I'm talking like radio pop. And the lyrics sometimes, man, are like, they're heart-wrenching.
Yeah.
Actually, I got this from, and I don't want to talk shit about Miley Cyrus, but that Wrecking Ball song, that sounded too polished for me to connect to the lyrics because they're heavy-ass lyrics.
Yeah.
And I turned it on once in the bridge and I went, oh shit, like, this might be a song that like I could look into a little bit. Then it goes into the chorus and it's no longer that. And I just went, oh, I don't connect with this anymore because it's too clean, too polished, right?
Yep.
I would almost rather a shitty acoustic guitar in a barn on a cell phone camera and her just connecting through that. And I would listen to that even if it was off a cell phone.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And I mean, and what you're talking about is the ability to have the emotion be the most present thing.
Yeah.
And I completely agree. And I think one of the things that
That's that Oliver Anthony dude. It's him standing in a field with an old dobro singing a song on TikTok and it going to number 1 on the billboards. Like it's just a dude connecting to something that he was
well,
at
I think
a time. And
I think it's also just the the ability to be that exposed and that open with the world, like,
Ooh, can I put a pin in that?
Yeah.
You know that flow state you're talking about as a musician? Do you think emotions do that?
yes.
Cool. Okay. I like that.
Well, like, so not to get all hippie about it, but I think that it's like,
The cleaner you let them flow is probably better, right?
I think I was going to get real hippie.
Go for it.
I think it's like, I think that flow state is authentic.
Okay.
I think it is pure in its essence, whatever you want to call that. I don't know any of this stuff, but just like, I think it's whatever it is that you're trying to express at that time is you not being in the way of it.
It's either a trust or an intuition thing, because like Kevin knows the guitar part. You don't need to think about the guitar part. You know the guitar part.
Yeah.
And if you truly trust that that's like okay and you're not going to make a mistake, then you can just believe that that's going to happen. It almost becomes like self-conscious of that, or
It's like pure
subconscious.
pure allowance.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that's what I mean. Like, you're not getting in the way of it.
Yeah.
And I genuinely think that it's kind of like the, I think it's super rare to find situations that you can put you into that state. And I'm not talking about just like, oh, I'm playing a video game real well. Maybe that is the same way for some people. Maybe that they're allowing themselves to be a high performer or whatever. But I think that act of allowance is huge when it's just like you have complete self-trust in that moment and you're allowing yourself to not have any of you in the way of that. Because like that should feel about as exposed as you could ever feel.
Well, and like, you know, I talk lots about a lot of the performances I react to, and like say the Warning performing in Mexico City.
Yeah.
Like that must feel incredible. And in that moment, if she's worried about making guitar mistakes or worried about hitting a note, she won't be able to display the emotion that she's displaying, I don't think. Because she's sitting there connecting, convincing me that she's feeling those things in that moment, in that city, in her home country, in front of however many thousands of people.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's a beautiful thing. And it's like, it just looks like this flow state where it's like she's, like it's her moment and she's catching it.
And I mean, I would argue that she's not, there's no act. Like she is feeling.
Yeah, great,
You know what I mean?
great. Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. Like it's exposed, it's authentic, right?
Yeah. And I think
Gives me chills to think about.
if I wanted to be really hippie about it, I would say the goal of life is to be that in as many areas of your life as you can.
Oh, absolutely.
Like whatever that flow state, whatever that pure, like, hey, I'm just going to let myself be as I am supposed to be and not get in my own way with worry, anxiety, thought,
Fear.
all the stuff that would normally be in impeding you from allowing yourself to be whatever it is that you're wanting to be in that situation. I think that's one of those things where it's like you should try and make it so that as much of areas of life that you can bring that into your life with, I think that would be ideal personally. Obviously there's some areas where that didn't work, but
You know what really helps with that? Smoking a little weed. There's a bass player I won't mention after saying that. Bass player you and I both know.
Yeah.
And he said that the first time he got to enjoy himself at a show, he said he was a little stoned and he was playing. He said he was sitting there watching his fingers go and he was just like thinking to himself, like, how's this happening?
Yeah.
He goes, this is amazing.
Yeah.
He's like, it's just like, it's all responsive and it's all happening. He said he just took a second to sit there and appreciate it.
Yeah.
And I just went, all right.
yeah, you get to be the observer.
Yeah.
Just kind of go like, wow.
Yeah.
Like,
As long as
this
it
is
doesn't like
happening.
existentially freak you out and you have a panic attack like I do. And
Well, no, you're catching on to something there though. Like the,
there's a fear and a real reality in that.
well, like what happens if you let the river flow, right?
Yep.
How big is the river?
Yeah.
You don't know.
Don't know. Don't know where
So
it wants to go.
That like unknownness of like, if those are areas of your life that you're not certain in and you're not fully comfortable with, like, yeah, it's scary as all get out to allow that to just kind of flow because you don't know how big it is.
Yeah.
You don't know what that does. You don't know where it goes. You don't know any of it.
Yeah.
And that's where like maybe music and art and stuff like that is like a safer version of that allowance because it's like, hey, I'm going to allow myself in this very specific area because I don't know how big the river is, but I know I can play some guitar.
Well, and like, what about like a lyricist writing and pouring their heart out and getting their feelings out and just being okay with like blowing things out of proportion just to get it out of your system.
Sure.
Like you go through a subtle breakup, like you go out with someone 2-3 times and you go through like an ugly little like split. I guess you stop seeing each other, but you just like pan it out like you just went through a divorce and everything and you get over it. But it's like, I don't really know where I was going with that, but there's got to be something freeing to that. But it's also kind of like vulnerable. Like if I go and show that to people, they're going to think that I feel those things and maybe I do to some capacity.
Well, I think like feeling and exact situation don't necessarily have to be in alignment.
Yeah, that's fair.
Right?
Especially in good songwriting, because you want to be able to relate to it as much as I do, and
Yeah.
et cetera, et cetera.
Like there's a band called Emery out there.
Check them out, y'all. Check them out.
They're really, really good.
Emery.
Yeah. But I remember like like one of their first, like I was like third or fourth record. They were writing some stuff and I was listening to the lyrics, and this was back when you had a disc jacket in a CD, and I was reading the lyrics and I was like, man, this guy's gone through some horrible stuff. And the emotion in the song, and it was just everything was just so intense. And then I realized that, well, no, that situation never happened. This was him writing a song that he
Or
was
inspired by, yeah.
But that dude is so good at tapping into the parallel emotion. So it's like the situation might not be the same, but I'm sure he's felt something within this realm of emotionality.
Yeah.
So it's one of those like being able to feel and connect to a different situation, but still with that feeling, I think can allow you to engage in a story or something like that might not be your own, but you can feel it parallel to that story, right?
I got an example of that. So I finally locked down my medley that I'm working on. Mm-hmm. And one of the lyrics in it is, he set it up with like the male and the female, they get married, they meet, kind of rocky start, they get married, they move to a highway house out of town, and they bought it with the money that she got when they bought her out. And I don't have that exact relationship, but what I do relate is Danielle inherited a vehicle when her aunt passed away, and she uses that to take care of our family and our house to go to work and everything. And I just like fell apart. And it's like a lyric that directly has no relation to my life. Just like it hit me so close.
But the lyric doesn't matter. It's the emotion.
Yeah, and like hearing it in his voice, man, it was just like, my God. Yeah.
I think that's why it all makes like connection. Because like if it was about being in such a specific thing, it's like, well, nobody's life is exactly the same ever, but we feel in the same way. Like we're built biologically to feel all the same feelings for the most part. And so that's the part that connects us. We don't have to be in the exact situation in order to feel the exact emotion. And maybe not to the same degree, but like you're going to be in the realm of it. And that's where I think like, again, I'm just more hippie than I used to be. And I think now looking back, it's like, okay, well, that emotional availability, like the willingness to be emotionally available and exposed and extroverted in that respect, like putting yourself out there, is the thing that people connect to. And it's not necessarily about how it sounds, not necessarily about how it looks. As cool as it is to have things look and sound good, that's secondary. You're just trying to make it so that people, like, now that I look at it, it's like you're trying to remove barriers from people being able to engage with the emotion.
I was gonna say you're like I said it earlier. I don't want an insulated heartbeat. I want to be able to like genuinely feel where that heartbeat came from.
Yeah.
And in a lot of like music with a lot of producers or a lot of engineers and all that stuff, I feel like I'm further away from the original heartbeat.
Well, and it can be.
Yeah.
Unless they're all really good.
Well, there's a Neil Diamond song. I think it's Love on the Rocks. It's like a slow jazz song.
Yeah.
But he sold it to someone who wanted to do it as like a British invasion punk song. And he was like, it's like, I can't, like, y'all can't do that. I don't know how that like worked out, but like in the movie they portrayed it, but it was just one of those, like, it was kind of interesting. But like, you know, it was someone handed it to someone, and now Buddy's singing it back thinking this is how it's supposed to be.
Yep.
And it's like this like upbeat, going. And then Neil Diamond's like, no, it's like, it's a jazz ballad. Like it's really slow, right? But it's just like you're further away from, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, and that's where like you can see people when they reinterpret something. Sometimes they're closer to the feeling of it than the person who originated it.
But then sometimes they're further away, like that Bryan
yeah,
Adams
for sure.
Heaven. Like how many times has that been recreated?
Yeah.
And each time it's like it almost sounds like happy and upbeat, which I mean it kind of is, but it's supposed to be more of like a longing and a desire song, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the. I think it's like, do you have something to say?
See,
You know, or are you singing a song because you like the song, or do you have something to say? Do you have something to feel? Do you have something to put out there? Is there a reason for this? And like I always harken back to like Johnny Cash, "Hurt." You know what I mean? Like that dude took that song and that's his now.
Yeah.
Like nothing against
9 Inch Nails.
Yeah, it's just one of those like when people hear that, they hear the hurt.
Yeah.
They hear this man's life, and
It
it's
sounds
one
like
of those,
he's dying as he took that take.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like he had something to say.
Yeah.
It might not have been in his song, but he had something to say through that song, and that's cool.
That's like actually like that new Billy Joel song. I cried when I heard
Man,
that.
that's an amazing
Oh
song.
man, I sobbed when I heard that. I was
was
like,
a
this is
good
just
tune.
like, to me it sounded like he was speaking to like the music industry or like his fans over the years.
And
Like,
to his history.
yeah, like
wild.
You know, like yeah, I don't want to get into that. Let's get into our show here.
Oh, okay. Sounds good.
So Alicia Keys in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
It happened like a month ago, and I talked about it briefly with my Patreons on a Twitch stream, but I'm curious what your take is on that.
Well, I listened to a podcast talk about it that had nothing to do with the music idea of it, which I appreciated because like we
We're
could talk
about
about
to talk some music.
Yeah, we could talk the music thing for sure. Like, okay, fixing a note.
Cool.
There's worse crimes.
Yep.
They were looking at it like, oh, we edited history.
Interesting.
And I was like, oh, that's fascinating. Because like that was a thing that happened, right? Like there was an experience there that if you experienced it live, there was a historic moment. And then all of a sudden, sorry, my dog is
You're
mad.
good. You're good.
I'm going to pick him up.
Sure. Welcome to the party, Watson.
I know you're grumpy. I get it.
We can take him for a walk after too before we do the music stuff.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Yeah, like I nothing against like if Alicia Keys wants it fixed or if whoever her production company and label and all that wants it fixed and to be nice for because it's Super Bowl. I don't really care.
Yeah.
Personally, like
It's within my tolerance, nonetheless. Whatever
Yeah.
I'm about to talk about here today is going to be opinions and thoughts.
oh yeah.
But it's within my tolerance. I loved it. I loved both. I loved hearing her crack, and I loved hearing it cleaned up.
Yeah, I agree. And because I like the authenticity, but I actually completely understand like protect the bag.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you don't want to have something that's of that size look negative at you in any way.
Okay. So I got a
but-
few thoughts. Oh, sorry. You go ahead.
Oh, but I just don't know if it's right.
Yeah.
I don't know if we should be, because like, okay, it's one thing for music, but what if you just do that everywhere?
Well, so my question is whose history are we worried about? Is it Alicia Keys and music, or is it the NFL and football?
I just think it's one of those things like common usage of things is one of the things that I find fascinating. So like when you think about things that are commonly used, so like okay, auto tune in live
Everything.
shows or just even like the halftime show is not a performance, and we all understand that, but it's common use now,
Yeah.
right? So that means that if this was used once, it's going to become common use. It's
Yeah.
going to become common use in more areas.
Yeah.
So then it's all of a sudden like, well, what happens if it happens in a presidential address? What happens if it happens like with
With like a recorrection.
well, really?
But like, is that any different than me saying something where if you, like, you know, you clip out 3 words of it and it sounds crazy, and you listen to 5 words of it and it's like the most calm thing there ever was? Like clip culture is basically doing that anyways.
It's kind of the same thing. It's changing.
A lot of it is going to be,
The
are you
interpretation
willing
of
to go
history.
find what you tolerate? I think because like if they or if they edited that or fixed that post, I will no longer be an Alicia Keys fan, and I go and research and I find that, then that's one thing. But if it doesn't interfere with me enough to go research, then
No, I again, it within the realm of what I think is reasonable. I could
I
care
tolerate
less.
it, yeah.
It's fine with me because like I completely understand it.
okay. So let me give a couple points of feedback or pushback or something. So I am not super aware of Alicia Keys' full discography, but she is the vocalist who made me sit back and realize I listen to shitty singers. Like, and this is long before the YouTube channel. I heard like it was that song. Some people want to know, right? I heard that and I just went, man, like this is Like vocaling, like holy, right? And I'm not trying to dig at any of the vocalists I listen to because I feel like I listen to some vocalists, but she was the first one to be like, this is really cool in that lane, right? So like I've always held Alicia Keys at like a really, really, really high regard. So for me, I wouldn't want her to have to relive that for the rest of her life. I would rather her have the cleaned up version, the perfect performance. Her dress looked amazing. She looked amazing. I just want her to be able to relive that.
Sure.
That's what I want. And I think that to the NFL, they probably want a perfect performance. We're the best in the world. It's us. We're that group. So the fixing to me makes sense. Unless Alicia Keys wants it to be that. Like, no, I loved it. Like, it was in the moment. Because I also don't know if Alicia Keys made that decision.
Yeah, who knows?
I also don't know if her team made that decision.
Yeah.
Right? But, yeah, like, the fan in me of Alicia Keys says that I have no problem with it being fixed. I would actually prefer that. But that's just me.
Well, and like, we're talking about it for replication purposes too, right? So it's one of those like, okay, well, nobody's going to fix it in the moment, I guess. We're not there yet.
Well, and that's a good sign though.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah.
But realistically, it's like for replication, whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like we're doing it to replay. Like, okay, fair enough. Because like, I don't know, for me, if I'm going to replay something over and over again, like the cleaned up version is usually what I'm picking.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm not going to the scratchy raw vocal for my daily listening.
Yeah. Unless it's like if I got to feel something and someone's feeling something and it's not perfect.
Different though.
Yeah, that's a different thing.
Because I'm going to be honest, they aren't going to edit that.
But then again, so to, Usher, the Super Bowl, celebrating like Usher's huge career coming out with Alicia Keys and like they did My Boo together, which was, I thought, like killer, right? And I just want that moment to be the best it can be when everyone goes back and replays it and relives it and they look at these legends on stage.
Well, and it is like a sign of respect too, right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
Because like think about the doors that opens, right? Like how many things could I Google right now? I could pull up Slash being too drunk to play a guitar solo. And that video exists. And if they went and fixed it, then we wouldn't be able to do that. And like as a fan, I find it funny. But as a hater, it's an easy opportunity for you to go in and blow something up, right? And now everyone misses the whole thing. Like we're here for Usher. We're celebrating 25 years of Usher, man. That's a long time.
Yeah. No, you're not wrong. And I don't know. I just think people need to understand that there's the moment and then there's like the relived moment. And if you want the moment, go there. Be there. Experience the thing. And then the relived is kind of a different story. It's also a tool to be used for marketing purposes and, historic representation of someone's catalog and all that other stuff.
It's even watching old football plays to make better adjustments to your defense this year.
Yeah.
You're watching old performances and like seeing what you're up to, right?
But we're not making missed catches appear like they're catches.
Hey, some people might be.
That's a fair point.
Some people might be.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't think it was a big deal, but I just found it interesting, this idea of changing history.
Yeah, but that is factual though. Yep. Like that is a statement, and especially like if you take the weight that I give Alicia Keys, and I'm sure lots of other people do, that makes it more historic.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that drives up the value of that moment. So it is a fair argument. If I heard it, I would love to be able to relive that moment because I would explain it. I'd be like, whatever, and I don't even know what happened. Like dry or like she sang the song a billion times, just this time it didn't work out. Like that shit happens, man.
Yeah, it's a human voice.
I've sang whole songs where I've forgotten the words. I've sang whole songs where I couldn't hear myself. I was out of key. Like, oh yeah.
It is one of the things though that I find a little bit sad is like, we're so used to it being right that we can't allow for the human being to still be human.
Yeah.
Like, because realistically, it's like voice is gonna crack, man.
Yeah.
It's just, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Any number of things could have happened.
Yeah.
And I get it. I completely get it. But I kind of wish we as people were like, we didn't think that was necessary. You know what I mean? It's just like, just let it be.
Yeah.
Let the human be the human.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a nice transition into our next one because I have a totally different perspective on that one.
Yep.
I watched a video of someone doing a whole breakdown of Blink-182 using auto-tune at Coachella.
Yeah.
And now I also want to say that I do not care. I saw Blink-182 and they were using a little bit of auto-tune back then. That was like 2014 or 13 or something like that. And that was like around the time of Tom was up to something He was singing really wild for like Tom, and during the harmonies they would bring in a little bit of auto tune. You could hear it.
Yeah.
And but I thought it was dope. Because I'm there to sing. I'm like I said to you, I'm not there for the vocals. I'm there to see them. I'm there to rock out, man. Pretend I'm 15 again. Like I was against the rail.
Yeah. Well, Blink-182 knows that nobody's there for the vocals. Like,
Yeah.
they're doing their thing, which is great. But like, it's not Alicia Keys.
Yeah. But did you watch that video I sent you?
Oh yeah.
I'll have it in the description box, y'all. It's kind of neat because it is subtle, but until you hear it, then you can't unhear it. And it does sound more like a malfunction than a like, ooh, I'm trying to fix something to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The video that I watched, they argued that like, you pull up the Pro Tools session, the plugins are all there, but the last setting didn't actually come up because that happens all the time.
Yeah.
So he said maybe something like that happened. Maybe it went to the major instead of the minor. Maybe it went to the like. It could be so many different things when it comes to the electronics of it.
It was in key though, for most of it.
Well, if Tom's singing in key and it's in a chromatic though, then it's fine.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
It's just like, maybe the mix was supposed to be at 15% and you turned it on, it's at 100 just because the plugin
Oh, that
reset.
could definitely be it.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
how often you pull up a compressor and it's back to stock settings? You're like, what the hell? Like,
Yeah.
I had this slamming before, right?
Yeah, you're not wrong. Like, and again, it's one of those like the technology part, what they're doing, the amount of shows that they're playing, the amount of miles they've already had on their voices, like. Give them all the help they need.
Would you prefer that to a vocal track? Because you made the argument the other week that you wouldn't mind it if it was for the better of the show. And I said I would rather see you fall apart and like Ozzy Osbourne just talking through his songs because he can't sing anymore.
I would say I don't think Blink can do a vocal track because they're so kind of like
Charismatic.
crowd worky.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if
Because
I
they
thought
do
it was
that I Miss You and all that stuff.
yeah, like if I thought it was like more of like a strict performance, then I'd be like, okay, well maybe we just do track.
Yeah.
And then it'll sound more natural and blah 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 blah. But he was making playful decisions to sing the song differently, over and over and over again. So for me, I don't think it's the type of act that you could do that with. So no.
Because I still want Tom's personality in the moment.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I don't care if it sounds like woo, woo, woo. I
Yep.
just want his energy. Because even at the end of it, he's like, fuck. It's like if I don't get that, then I'm missing the Blink show, man.
That's the show that you want, right? Like
Yeah.
you want them.
I want their heartbeat.
personality.
See, I'm telling you, bro.
Yeah,
telling you, bro. That was a good one. You said that. I didn't say that. And then Betancourt said it later. But
Oh,
yeah.
nice. But yeah, it's just like I don't know. That's what I want from that show. So I don't really care how they get there as long as I'm not losing that.
Yeah.
If I'm going to lose that, then like, well, what am I doing here?
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
exactly.
Like, just get some pros to come up there and play it, and then they can just go have drinks on the side and
do
just
their
chill
thing.
out.
Yeah.
Like, no, what I want is I want those three guys doing their thing.
And then okay, so that's kind of interesting because like when I watch it back, if I watch the cell phone footage of, and the reason I'm not playing that is because apparently Coachella's been copywritten everybody.
Oh,
Yeah, so I'm not going to play the clip. But where was I going with this?
you saw the cell phone clip.
No, I think I said if I saw the cell phone footage. Oh, and it sounded bad. It was just Tom like yelling at the microphone. That feels more like a Blink show. Like, oh, we're getting back to old Blink now.
These are the damn it days.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. Like I was cool with it. Again, it was within my tolerance. I'm not going to a Blink show for a vocal for the vocals.
No.
And they wrote some great lyrics.
Yeah.
They were both great singers in their own regard.
They're great songs.
Yep.
Like I again,
That's
I
not
love
why-
Blink.
That part's just not why I'm going to the show.
No, I'm going there for fun.
Yeah.
Like, and that is the fun part.
I saw Blink 182 and then Weezer right after.
Oh, nice.
Or maybe it was the other way around. I think it was Weezer and then Blink 182.
That would make sense.
Yeah. It was unreal.
Beverly Hills.
Oh, dude, I don't even know if they played that song. They probably did. I'm sure they did. They had some hits. Like, holy shit.
Oh yeah, man.
Yeah. We
Yeah,
might
they
have
were
to
no
do like
joke.
a dive on that because they were really good.
Tom Lord Alge, I believe. Nope, Chris Lord Alge.
One of the Lord Allergies?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine.
Can't remember.
That's fine.
But
But yeah, the Blink thing, man, totally within my tolerance.
me too.
And you know what's interesting though is Alicia Keys, and I guess the difference being that I'm going to her for vocals, I would not want to hear either of those. I want to hear her voice crack. Yeah, but in the recreation, the only time that I'm arguing that I like that is because it was the Super Bowl. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was her moment in history, and like she couldn't control that.
Yeah.
So if she was cool with it, I would rather it be recreated. The way
Yeah,
that it
no,
was.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
It's too big of an event, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But I mean, then there's the kind of like, well, okay, what's not too big of an event?
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Like once you give an inch, you run a mile, right?
Yeah. I don't know. And the funny thing is like, that's going against technically what I had said previous of this, like being open and being accessible and exposed. It's like, but I mean, she's already done that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, man,
it's
like-
one of those like we I don't know.
Neither of them needed that to do that performance. I'm sure it did great for them. I'm sure it did great for them. I don't know what the stats are, how many more streams they got, all this shit. But like they've been successful. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, they've been at it.
Yeah.
They've been doing the thing.
You want to take a quick break and do a little music?
Yep.
Okay. What is going on, my YouTube friends? Our podcast, like, I don't know what was going on. The camera died, even though it was plugged in. It was strange. But I wanted to finish this week's episode off with a little story and a little kind of example of the kind of tomfuckery that's been going on. So I went out the other Saturday for the first time in like maybe 2 or 3 years. And I went and saw a band. I got invited by an old friend of mine. And I'm going to keep all the names out of this just for the sake of it. I got invited to go check out Soundcheck and left before the sound guy got there. Met the band. I had met a couple of them before. Said hi to the friend that had invited me out. Went home for a little while. Actually hung out with y'all. We did a little live stream. Then I went back and watched the show with a friend of mine. Shout out to my friend Dylan. And a couple drinks in, band's about to go on. And I'm looking at my buddy and I'm saying, where's the sound guy? And he says, he's not coming. And I just thought, like, excuse me? Like, what? There's a band, like, the band's about to play. The sound guy's not coming? Well, he did sound check. Sound check was good enough. So they called it, I don't know. I don't know what the discussion was. I don't know what the decision was. But let me tell you, man, by song 1, it was bad. It was really, really, really bad. And, like, I'm trying not to, like, blow it out of proportion. But, like, y'all, it was really bad. So I don't know, man. I felt so impulsed to try to help. And luckily I knew the other technician working who just like, yep, have at it, man. Start mixing, right? So first thing we do is like, let's get the guitars to be present. Let's get the vocals to be present. The band's loud enough. And let's turn it down. Like, let's turn it way down. And so turn it down, get like things going, sit back down, try to enjoy my drink. And it's just like, God damn it. Like all I can hear is this like low woof off the stage. Bass is all floppy. And so I'm just like, all right, man, like I'm talking to my buddy and I feel really bad. I feel like I ended up just ditching him. And, but anyway, that's another story. So go to this console again, start pulling things up and looking at the EQs. And the first thing I start saying is, I should have taken pictures though. First thing I tell the guy, I start tapping buddy on the shoulder. I say, you brought the wrong mics, man. Like what the hell is going on here, right? And like I said, I don't have exact examples. So I pulled up a mix that I'm working on and I'm going to show you all kind of roughly what the EQs and stuff look like. And I thought maybe it would be on like just vocals, but it was on everything, bro. Like guitars, vocals, bass. Yeah. So let me pull this up. This is like an underplayed example of what was going on when I got my hands on this console, all right? So this is just kind of a neat meter that kind of looks good. I thought it would give a good example of what's going on. I've just got it on the guitars right now to give you an example. But everything I pulled up just had these like big, nasty dips. And like, I'm looking at this just thinking, like all you did was just turn it down. It's the exact same, but you just turned it down. So that's why I say like it's the wrong mic or something's wrong. And wouldn't like lo and behold, all I had to do was come to this high mid, start turning it up. And it was just like all of a sudden you could hear the guitars again. And it was a whole vibe change. Like the energy of the dance floor changed. People got up and started dancing. All of a sudden you could visit and still hear. And like the other technician working, like that's what he kept saying to me. He's like, the whole vibe changed. The whole vibe changed. So anyways, I'm going to show you kind of the difference that this makes. Just scooting in that little high mid there. So if y'all have headphones on, watch your ears. I don't know how loud this is going to be. I'm going to play you a bit of it without that EQ in there, without all of those ducts, so you can kind of hear what everything sounds like. And then I'll put that in there and you'll hear how it just pulls it away. And I'll explain as I'm going along. But here we go. I'll just play you the instrumental. Now I'm going to turn on this EQ, which is just going to pull out these ducts to kind of simulate what I was walking into, and just watch how much that changes these guitars here. Like, it's just wild. So let me pull up this guitar group. I'm just going to solo the guitar group, and you can just hear it. So this is regular without these cuts. Now I'm going to make these cuts. I'm just going to back it up a couple seconds here so it's similar. I'm going to turn this EQ on, which is just going to remove these little bells here. Like, it's effectively the same. It's just quieter. And there are differences. Like, there's more low end pulled off and this and that. But like I say, like in this bar, there was so much low end already, especially with bodies in front of the stage, a loud live band in this low roof room. Like, it didn't need all that low end anyhow. So that might have been fine. But like, here, let me just move these around and show you. So all I really did was I literally just put my hand on the touchscreen fader at the high mid, and I just brought it up, and all of a sudden you can hear the guitar. So I'm going to do the same thing with the whole mix playing, and I'll show you as I bring that up, and you'll see how they just show up. And again, it's not that they're perfect sounding, it's just that they are there all of a sudden, right? So this is the instrumental with the ducks, with the cuts in the guitar. And now I'm just gonna bring in that high mid so you can just hear it become present. See how much that changes? So this is just the regular mix again. And then with all the cuts, like I was mentioning. And if I just grab that high mid and just bring in that body again. Like, I'm effectively just turning it up. That's all that's happening. I'm just bringing it back so that it can effectively be mixed. Like, I was so frustrated, y'all. And then I'm discussing with the band after. Shout out to the Arcana Kings. I was discussing with the band after, and it turns out they're promoting a Kickstarter. Like, the level of frustration, y'all, I don't even know where to start. I don't even know where to start. And that's just guitars. I could go and do that exact same thing to all the vocals, the snare drum, everything, and it's just going to become like a floppy mess. I don't know. I don't even know how to describe it. Wow, I'm getting heated. I didn't know what to do, y'all. I didn't know what to do. And it didn't even turn out like the best it could have been. Like, I just started adding high pass filters on everything that didn't need it. Like, hardly anything needed to be in that sub. Starts like getting rid of all that shit, giving us a little bit of headroom, and turning it down. Like, holy crap. Anyways, so moral of the story, man, there's only so much I can do. There's only so many places I can be at a time. And like, I've really become like an incluse. Like, I really don't leave my house very often, but I just really don't want bands to feel like they're alone, man. Like, if there's anything I can do to help, like you, your friends, your favorite indie bands, your friends' bands, like whatever, man, to like tell them to hit me up, please God. And like, I'm only going to be able to do like free and cheap favors for people for so long. And like, it'll be a supply and demand thing. And I've got a couple projects I'm working on, but like, it just makes me ill to think that people have to go out and do stuff like that alone. And like I said, like the actual like being there and doing like physical sound in a live scenario where like sometimes it really matters. Like, I don't have the physical capacity to be in a lot of places. And like, I try to avoid talking about local stuff because like we have an international audience. There's not like, I don't know of anyone that listens from around here. And aside from a few friends, I'm not trying to like underscore anybody, but like, it's just, I just really don't want artists to feel like they have to do things alone. And if there's anything I can help with, man, if it's feedback, if it's help with like designing sound systems, if it's mixing your projects, like whatever I can do, man, please pass on the word. Like myself, Kevin, Like we'll sort stuff out, man. Like as a content creator, I don't always need money for things. Like I can trade it for like mix breakdowns or like how-tos and stuff. Like we can figure stuff out. I'm so much like I'd be so much more comfortable and I'd sleep so much better at night knowing that I'm helping take care of people rather than there's just people out there just wandering it alone trying to be an artist. Like I can't tell you how frustrating that was. Like I've been messed up from it for like a couple weeks. And maybe that's more of a me thing. But like, whew. Anyways, y'all, that was my little 10-minute rant. I appreciate y'all hanging out for this. I appreciate y'all listening to the podcast. I can't thank you enough. Like this is a part of that creator's side where like it's really just for me. And I know that a bunch of y'all appreciate it and I'm hoping that we're delivering value. But like the reactions, it feels more like community. And this really feels like it's something that like takes care of my heart. And I just want to extend that, man. And I really appreciate y'all being patient and working through these and listening to these. Yeah, man. Anyways, y'all have a great, great, great day. And we'll see you all again soon.